if you haven't seen episode 1, never fear, you can watch this and go back to it. But I do want to start off with just maybe telling me just very briefly about yourselves. So 15 seconds or less, since we know who you are from the first one, but just say who you are, what your position is, and where you work. Brandy, we'll start with you.
Yep. So I am Brandy Boatner, Manager of Digital and Advocacy Communications at IBM. And you could affectionately call me the Beyonce of the business world, or just say that Brandy sure has such a sense of fabulosity. And that is a word, by the way. Fabulosity is a word.
Thank you, Beyonce Boatner. I appreciate your contributions as always. Iman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Iman Jefferson. I'm the Kelly Rowland of PR. No,
She's my best friend.
No, but I am now with Nextdoor. I'm heading up external relations as well as internal communications. 2 weeks in, excited to be there. Nextdoor is a hyper-local social network focused on United Communities. So, hey, guys.
Yeah, and congratulations. And I was talking with Brandy earlier and how Nextdoor has become such an important source of news, especially in places that have been decimated by local news from many communities. So
absolutely.
New gig. Christina.
Well, and I feel like, how can I follow this, right? So we've got Kelly, we've got Beyonce over there. I'm going to say I'm the Christina Lucky of Christina Lucky.
I love her.
ECW Global. So I lead our North America brand solutions practice. And you know what, I'm all about just, moving people and helping brands tell their story in a way that makes difference in people's lives. So, there's so much that brands can do. And I'm grateful that I'm able to help champion that and drive that forward.
Great. Well, thanks to the three of you for being here again and taking your time. I know you're all really busy.
So good.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
You gotta appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I do like all kinds of music, that I will tell you.
Yeah, I do too. It's so mood based, right? It's like whatever you're in the mood for is what you do.
Well, a lot of it also that was influenced with what is my daughter hearing? I mean, I'm happy to sing the Moana soundtrack for you. Heard it before.
I would love that. Please.
Track number 4. There you go.
I can't.
We've been listening to the Teen Beach movie soundtrack at the house quite a bit, which isn't terrible. So you need a recommendation, Christina.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
It's Bob.
So to continue on this arc, we've done a couple of future of work studies where we look ahead at what is the future of the workplace. And I would say that all three of you work in innovation in some way and thinking about the future of the industry and either counseling clients in your organization about how to move forward. So from that perspective, are there any sort of gems or, Christina, with your clients, what are you seeing as, looking into the crystal ball 18 months from now? What are some of the issues besides sort of the return to work and coming back that we need to think about and be prepared for in our industry? So Christina, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to say so much of the return to work or focus on that, but I do think, the work from anywhere, people are going to expect that. So it's less about, there's this, we've proven that we can do anything from anywhere. There's, this, whether people are now focused on more kind of global connections, there really is this concern that if we go back to business as usual, you're certainly not going to, you're going to have some talent issues there. You're certainly going to have some morale issues there. And so when I think of just how do companies get ahead of that? How do they, from a maintaining and retaining top talent, attracting top talent, how do they make sure that they're positioned to really address and embrace this work from anywhere, virtual pods, I think there's going to be this moment in time where it's not just about return to office. It's just about what is net new? What does the new reality look like? And we all can touch anything from anywhere, and people are going to want to continue doing that. It's been such a benefit for so many people to connect with people around the world in a deeper way. And so they're really going to have to deliver on that if they want to recruit and, as I said, retain top talent. I think that we can't just close the door on this last year and expect to go back to normal. So that's what I see is, how are companies going to react and respond to that and prepare and do it in a way, though, that makes them even more attractive to, especially to the top talent.
Yeah, there was an interesting article by the Zillow CEO, Rich Barton, who talked about the like return to work with remote employees versus in-person employees. And how do you manage not creating a two-class system where your first class are the employees who show up to the office every day, and then you have a second class who have the option to work remotely, but maybe people subconsciously may think, wow, these remote workers don't necessarily or aren't as proactively committed or embedded in the organization. So I think, Christina, to your point, there's a lot that we have to think about with how do we create that culture and structure of equity. What about you, Brandy? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so like you said, Tina, so innovation working at a large technology company is something that we eat, sleep, breathe. And I think for communications professionals and where we're going, if I look in the crystal ball, one of my focus areas, again, from a technology company standpoint, you all might hear it's hybrid. The world is going hybrid. That's a form of the cloud. You have public-private mix of cloud computing. Well, I think hybrid is something that the PR industry we should adopt because I think everything is going to be hybrid now moving forward. So, kind of to what Christina said, you're going to have this hybrid approach of return to the workplace. So, you'll have some people who might come in 2 days and then spend 3 days at home. You might have some people who want to come in every day, but then they, go to Hawaii for 2 weeks and they're working from Hawaii. So, they're working anywhere. So, that's going to be hybrid. I think content, both what we produce and how our audiences consume, are going to be hybrid. Right now we're very much so in like short form content, TikToks, things that happened in 30 seconds, new house audio. Like we're very much so in the way the content is produced and how it's consumed. So it's going to be a hybrid approach. You're going to have to play with long form and short form to see what are people most comfortable. Like if it's too long, they'll check out. They don't want to hear it. They don't want any part of it. Right. So you're going to have a hybrid mix of, the content that you're producing and how you deliver it. I also think there's going to be a hybrid mix on the refreshing your brand purpose. You might say, well, I don't have to talk about my brand purpose because my customers and people know what we stand for. Okay, great, they know what you stand for, but you might have to reaffirm your commitment to women and gender equality. You might have to reaffirm your commitment to the LGBT plus community. You can don't just assume, well, yeah, we know Ben and Jerry's, they're all great, or X brand is all great, but you're gonna have to have, again, a hybrid approach. You're gonna have to do some things and just remind people what you stand for, what your company values, what your ethics and what you advocate for as an organization. So I would say my crystal ball says hybrid, not just because I'm out here talking about hybrid cloud, but just everything I think is for our industry is going to be a hybrid approach.
You have that very tight end. What's really interesting is when we did our women in leadership study, when we asked people if like flexibility was what they wanted the most, and really no one was getting it. They're like, you cannot absolutely work from home. Like that's just, you're not part of the culture. And it's just interesting how COVID has completely changed how we view that. What about you, Iman?
Yeah, well, I think Christina and Brandy covered a good amount of it, but I would say, as someone in my previous role, I worked remote from New York with most of my team based in based in Detroit. And so it was interesting seeing how once everything went virtual, they understood the challenges and the ability to still get things done. And everyone had to kind of evolve into that space. And I think moving forward, they're going to have to figure out, officers are going to have to figure out what that looks like and making sure that people who may be a bit more introverted, who are maybe in meetings before, didn't speak up, now with the setting are able to offer their opinions and kind of have an even playing field, and making sure that those who are over these different teams are able to see that and kind of factor into what this all looks like moving forward. In terms of hybrid approach, definitely. I mean, whether it's going to be something still being virtual events and then having people come back in to do events live, just making sure that all those different kind of taken into consideration.
So, because you mentioned New Orleans, we used to go to, I just had a conversation with someone this morning about New Orleans. We used to go there all the time growing up. So what is your favorite food then, Brandy?
Anything my mom makes, but being from New Orleans, like anything from my mother, of course. But like I am, my favorite cuisine, of course, is Cajun cuisine. So,
I do.
Gumbo, but listen, roux is an art. You can't just like put some sauce together and you like think that no.
Absolutely.
Roux is an art. You have to let the roux set. You have to have the right flour. You have to like have it's an art form. So roux is, gumbo, crawfish etouffee, anything seafood. For those people who've been to Jazz Fest, crawfish Monica, which is crawfish in very cheesy pasta. Some people do crawfish Diane. There ain't no by Diane. It's crawfish Monica. There is no Diane.
Who was Crawfish Diane?
Exactly. It's like it's exactly it's like a knockoff. They're like, oh, this is
Who is
Diane. I'm
she?
like, no. It's like bow tie pasta, or I'm like, no.
Disrespectful.
So disrespectful.
Sorry, Diane.
Crawfish
Yeah.
Monica is what's up. Anything, catfish, which I can't find here in New York. I go through great lengths to find catfish in New York, and I can't. If I do, I have to ask them, do you get this from Louisiana, or do you have an illegal catfish farm? Because some people are growing catfish, or like they have like an illegal catfish pond that they're not supposed to. And I'm like, oh, then it doesn't taste the same. So any Cajun cuisine that I can get my hands on, I am. And my mom usually sends me. She'll pack, so she'll cook it and she'll pack it and she'll send it to me. I sometimes share with friends. Sometimes, so Iman, I could share it with you.
You sound like
You can send it to me.
Okay.
I'm happy to taste it.
Christina, I definitely could have her just send. You're right next door from her. She can just send a shipment to you. Iman, you can come over and we can taste that. Like,
I'm just making sure that there's an invitation
Yeah,
because I was going
obviously,
to invite
we can-
myself. I'm
we
just
can
saying.
do that. But Tina, yes, anything Cajun. I mean, you name it. There isn't anything that, from the gumbo to the etouffee to the crawfish Monica, there isn't anything that I don't like that's Cajun. That's just and again, I only eat it when I'm at home. I don't get a chance to eat it as much here, but
That's my favorite food too, because we grew up on Cajun food as well.
Exactly. So
And
you
roux is extremely important. And
Art.
I even had like a king cake from Gambino. It's
Oh,
delicious.
listen, I get king cake shipped to me every
See?
year. My mom now gives them out to IBMers who now expect them. Is my king cake arriving? And I'm like, we did this as like a courtesy. Like every year.
What about the buffalo fried oysters, though?
fried
Oysters are
oysters?
great.
No, the
From Acme
buffalo fries.
Oysters
The
is
buffalo.
the best. I love the
buffalo.
fried oysters from
Yeah.
Acme.
They are.
And
I love
char
grilled.
broiled. Yeah.
Charbroiled, that's
Yes,
it, Tina.
Yes.
Either get them from Drago's or Acme, char
Right in
grilled.
there too. In there too. Absolutely.
Ah.
Yes.
So good. So
Yes.
good.
Now I'm hungry. So
But yeah, king cakes, beignets, the whole shebang.
nice. What about you, Aman?
Well, I mean, I'm over here salivating everything that Granny just talked about. I'm like, skip Japanese food, but I love Japanese food. I've been to Tokyo a few times, and so that's my preferred cuisine. But now I'm like going to put that to the side and talk about some etouffee because that sounds very tasty right now.
Some crab meat stuff, catfish, girl. Ooh.
Yes, I worked in a catfish restaurant in high school. I was farm raised from Mississippi. So.
See, that's what
There you
that's
What?
what you need. That's what you need.
Yeah. And it was filet. It wasn't whole catfish, which is
I love
another-
filet and
Yeah,
catfish
no,
nuggets,
filet.
Tina. I
Yeah,
love catfish
yes,
nuggets.
nuggets are
Everybody-
good.
oh,
Yes.
so good.
Christina, what about you?
Oh, so hungry. I really could go
So
for
right.
it. Mexican. It's my first food. I love it. I love it. Anything spicy, everything from a huevos ranchero, a really good ranchero sauce has to be extra spicy. But tacos, just fajitas, just anything grilled, grilled red snapper, just yum, 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 yum.
What's your favorite queso place?
Queso?
Yeah, I feel like you're in Texas. You have to be a big queso fanatic, no?
No, you know what? I have to tell you, I'm not really loving. There's some places here in Texas that I'm okay with from a Mexican. I'm still not feeling that Tex-Mex part of it, though. I just, so I found actually there's a really good, what is it, La Ventana? There's a good kind of street Mexican restaurant that I like that's downtown, but I'm still trying to work my way through what's the best Mexican we haven't gotten there just yet.
Right.
Queso, not so much, I have to tell you.
Oh man, yeah, I love Torchy's. There's a couple in Dallas that have good queso. So yeah, recommendation. All right, so how do each of you unwind and relax? Christina?
Well, definitely spending time with my littles. So my 7-year-old daughter Lilia, who's just a barrel of fun and laugh and sweetness, and then my fur little Bella is my Maltipoo. But also, I would say wine. A good glass of wine, some chillax beach lounge music, some jazz. Just listen, having it play through my Echo, just, taking it easy. So.
Iman.
It's kind of on the same wavelength as Christina. Naturally, I'm into candles. So I'm like buying scented candles. Like that's my little happy thing right now. In terms of self-care, a lot of bossa nova, like just kind of zenning the place out. And I do love a good cocktail, as you guys heard last time. But I've transferred to wine, I'm just a little more elegant. So yeah, wine, music, and some really yummy smelling candles.
Hold on to those candles. They got us through the snowmageddon here in Texas. I pulled out every single one.
Brandy.
I'm very similar to Iman, like a glass of rosé, just good music. And like Iman, I put on like my midnight soul, back to the 90s BET, like that kind of R&B. Like today's R&B is okay, but it just does not sound the same. So I like, those throwbacks. Like I just imagine that Donnie Simpson is like in my
a little video soul moment.
I mean, literally. The music just makes me, just again, even though I'm in here by myself, not booed up, no man, no prospect of a man, nobody even on the horizon for having no man. It just makes me feel like I'm in here with a man. Like it just makes me feel like this is how I unwind. Like I'm the most beautiful thing in the world. Somebody's singing to me. I got my rose. I mean, that's how I relax and unwind.
And just when pandemic's over, you'll have two brothers to choose from. So
I mean, I'm telling you that I really want that to be my life.
It's going to happen.
I really want that to be my life.
Everyone's just scared in 2022.
If we can manifest that, because post-pandemic, like
I can tell I'm
ready to be out here.
I'll help.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too.
Set those intentions.
Right?
Get out the chakra incense sticks and set those intentions.
I've been chanting, Christina. I got my vision board. I've been manifesting. Yeah. I am just out. I'm telling you, I'm out here.
Brandy Boatner is hilarious.
I know. She's fantastic.
I think those two are it for now. What else have I watched? I feel like just a lot of random Netflix, but I did watch that show. I mean, that movie. Oh God. I just lost who it was, but it was on the woman who was taking advantage of people.
Oh, in her mouth or no?
I care a lot.
I care a lot. Yeah.
That was crazy. So I just watched that recently and I was like, this is insane. I was outraged and then I felt, happy in the movie. So that's it.
Is it good? Do you recommend it?
I found it to be enjoyable. It was a good pandemic movie just to watch. Like, this is just insane. These people out here just taking advantage of those that are, elderly. So yeah, watch it.
What about you, Brandy?
So honestly, I am such a hometown girl. So I'm from New Orleans and I had to read this book in middle school and it touched me in such a way because I was like reading about very adult, mature situations that I was like, oh my God, like I think about this stuff too. And the name of the book is Night Jasmine by Mary Lou Widmer. And she's a local New Orleans artist or author. She only wrote a handful of books, but they're all about New Orleans. They all take place in New Orleans at different times. And I remember reading this, like I said, in middle school. And then when I got to high school, I've read the book 1,700 times, maybe not 1,700, but maybe 700 times. It just makes me so proud to be from New Orleans, just the situation. So a Night Jasmine, a woman falls in love with two brothers. And I'm like, I would love to fall in love with two brothers and have two brothers fight over me. And then would it harm their relationship? Which brother do I end up with? And then I think about what Drake said. If you had a twin, I would still choose you. But then no, I want the two brothers. So it just was like a coming of age book for me that I just absolutely love. So Night Jasmine.
I love it. I'm gonna read it. I'm a huge reader, so I'm gonna read it. Do you
Check it
do
out.
you read any of the Anne Rice? She's New Orleans, right? Isn't
She
that
is,
the-
and I actually
Mhm.
know. I was
Anne
gonna
has
say Christina.
vampires.
I know Anne Rice and her son Chris.
Ah,
We used to hang out. I've been to their house, her house in New Orleans many, many times. Before Chris moved to LA, like we would get into a lot of mischievous trouble together. So, because he's a couple years older than me, but because his mom was Anne Rice, we just like partied a lot. So I know
we'll
the
have to
family.
connect.
I know the
Yes.
family.
I mean, this is great, Christina. You can get like,
I can get you the intel and the dirt.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Next time I go to New Orleans, you'll have to come with
For
me.
sure. And then I don't know if you've heard the Lazy Genius. It like
Mm-mm.
tells you like random ridiculous things. Like, come on, have you ever sat around and wondered who first made pants? Like who like have you
It's probably in my Google search because I'm that
right?
type
But
of
like have you
odd
ever like
person.
thought about that? Like and so Lazy Genius asks like rando stuff, but it's for people who are, you might have like a really good idea. You might be thinking about all these things, but you're too lazy to like do something about it or like look it up or just let me just listen to a podcast so I can like learn about like how like thread came to be like the leader in textiles, like just like random stuff. I know it's like weird, but it makes me giggle, makes me laugh in between Call Your Girlfriend and watching the YA genre. So that's what's on the agenda for the Beyonce of the business world.
You
And
should
Kelly.
watch Kissing Booth.
Of course I've seen Kissing Booth and Kissing Booth 2. Girl, I know all the backstory about
can't.
Joey King and like Jacob Elliott. I know, girl, I am Miss YA. Like I am all about YA.
You are
I know my daughter
multifaceted
does
for
that.
sure.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So
Very
this was
layers,
really great.
layers, Iman, layers.
I'm
That's
here
right.
for it.
We're all onions with like, their onions are stinky, but still, we're all layers. So let's also, as a follow-up, what are some do you see are the biggest threats or challenges to companies' reputation moving forward? We'll start with you, Aman.
I think that, again, just making sure that people are able to, consumer needs may have changed throughout this. Consumers, higher level purpose and what they're passionate about may have shifted, and making sure that brands are able to kind of see and test to make sure that they're still are responding in the center of the customers, everything that they do, and making sure from a communication standpoint that, again, that we are pushing the leaders and the folks that are in those places to make sure that all that's coming across very strongly.
Great. What about you, Brandy?
So I know this is gonna be like really like the irony because I work in this space and I support digital communications and social media, but social media is going to be a huge challenge. And I say this for the dark side of social media, for the things that social media does with the filters and the falsehoods and the I'm living my best life, but I'm really not living my best life. But then also to this emergence of cancel culture. And so I happened to do a LinkedIn Live session around cancel culture and how quick people are to cancel someone. Or if an employee does something at an organization, the organization's like, we do not support that. That person is fired. We want no part of it. But then people are using cancel culture. Some people say it's like online bullying or it's like mob mentality where people are getting canceled or how people are jumping on. But if you look at a hashtag or you look at something that happens on social media, that's perpetuating the cancel or who is deemed cancel, or it's a power play to say someone who comes from a place of privilege or a celebrity or an athlete does something, makes a mistake, and a power play is, well, then we're going to cancel them again, this mob mentality. So I think social media, because again, we've been locked down and we've had such a dependence on it and it's emerged, as a way to, connect and to stay engaged when we can't physically be together. We need to unpack the dark side of it because organizations really need to be prepared for what's our brand resiliency play here when social goes wrong, or if we get canceled, or if we have an employee that's canceled. And we really need to be thoughtful about that because I don't know if you guys have seen, Twitter is vicious, like vicious. We talked about the Harry and Meghan, the interview. I don't know if you all were on Twitter. I was literally on Twitter constantly. I was on Insta constantly looking to see what people were saying. And, everyone goes on social media and says whatever, however awful or offensive it may be, they just share their opinion. So just a lot of things were coming out of that I was like, oh, somebody wrote that. But social media can be a vicious place. So like I said, I love social platforms. I am very active and engaged, but I do think the dark side of social will be a challenge that communicators and organizations need to contend with.
Do you think a lot of organizations are well prepared to deal with this issue?
I do not. I don't think, again, we did the session on cancel culture. I don't even know, are you having, or like, is your HR team having conversations about canceling? And I even asked the person who runs our culture and transformation, I was like, do you think we need to have like training around cancel? He's like, well, I don't think it needs to be like, I don't think we need to go that far, but organizations should be aware of what it means and how it's happening and how it kind of comes to be. But Tina, I don't think organizations are looking at, I think we need to look at brand reputation and reputation management as the new brand resiliency. Like, how able is your company to bounce back if something were to go wrong on social? And then also with brand purpose, Tina, it only takes one time for someone to say something insensitive, or you're not releasing a statement on Stop Asian Hate. And I'm like, oh, well, you haven't said anything. So you obviously, stand for, it only takes one thing. So I think there's this dark side of social we really need to start thinking about.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're right. I think there is a lot of dark side. And in addition, like disinformation and other sort of
falsehoods, they're everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere.
of how we deal with that, especially as technology becomes more sophisticated. What about you, Christina?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Brandy, because I think it does speak to the, there's this connection, this influence that the outside, that culture is playing even more and more in just the role of business, of employer every day. And it continues to, what I will say is that it's not like the rules of engagement are clear. They're not. That's why everyone is kind of left with, well, what is our stance on this issue? And so that, I think, is going to continue to, certainly be a threat, be something that people have to prepare for and manage to and have a plan of attack moving forward. But I think, all in all, when it comes to any type of reputation, it is still going to come down to, what are you saying? And is it authentic? Are you being honest? And are you standing behind what you're saying? Are you standing in those actions? Because that's what it's ultimately kind of come down to. People are going to measure what you're saying against what you're actually doing. We still are in this, don't stop saying, do, act. If you're advocating something, then how are you following through on that? And so I think that is that, we've had so many issues arise in the last year, and whether you jump into your purpose or you truly are, living as a brand activist, essentially, it's going to come back to you if you're not, doing your part to really move that forward and move what you say forward, and people are going to hold you accountable. So I think that just overall that will impact reputation if the action isn't there. It sounds simplistic, and certainly it's not new. It's just, you're going to, now, because of cancel culture, you'll be held accountable even more.
And then are you seeing more from your clients with expectations from either internal, externally to speak up about social issues, and have it follow up with behavior?
We're counseling clients that just standing on the side, especially with so many devastating things going on, standing on the sidelines and watching these, societal issues at play. It's not even the way that we're counseling it is, you have an opportunity to use your influence, your voice, your scale to truly make a difference in people's lives, to truly have impact. And you have to have those conversations. It's just not enough to be sitting on the sidelines. And frankly, when you see there is, let's be clear here, there is still a business impact too. There's a business benefit to that as well. There can be risk, but there also is a clear benefit when brands do advocate on behalf of something. You do see that, that there is a positive return there too. So that's, some of the things that we are counseling, that you can't just stay silent and expect to not have that come into question. Now, that being said, you have to be thoughtful in terms of what you say, though.
Thank you for watching this episode of In a Car with IPR. Want to make a tax-deductible contribution to support this series and fund research in the profession? Please visit us at instituteforpr.org/contribute.